And welcome to another edition of Defo on 5. Good to be with you and trying to work the voice a little bit. I thought I had it there, Lubie.
Right.
A little throat clearing might be in order during the course of this. Hey, good to see you. How are you doing, Mike Lubie Lubitz, as we get things started here on 5 Reasons Sports Network? It's always a pleasure. I know there's going to be kind of a depressed air around the people on 5 Reasons Sports Network after that horrible effort by the Heat last night. No Jimmy Butler. Let's get that out of the way. Jimmy wasn't playing. What are we supposed to do? But they fall back a half game out of the sixth spot there. Even and this was on the eve of Dwayne Wade being elected to the Hall of Fame, which I thought was a veritable certainty. This wasn't like Zach Thomas. This wasn't like any of the other Dolphin players who have sat there on the borderline seemingly forever. This wasn't Jerry Kramer rolling around Radio Rows at the Super Bowl going, why won't they put me in? Put me in. I made that block. Jethro Pugh, he's in the stands. He's in the stands, for God's sake. This was a no-brainer, was it not? Gets in there with Pau Gasol. And let's see, who else? Pop made it, Tony Parker, Becky Hammond, who you mentioned yesterday,
Yep, yeah.
Hall of Famer, and Dirk Nowitzki.
And Dirk, yep. It's a great
Nowitzki, I guess it is. I mean, is it Nowitzki or Nowitzki?
No,
What is it? There's a V or a W there. What is it? You Germans have to decide right now.
It's a V.
V. Okay, Dirk Nowitzki. So congratulations in order to Dwayne Wade, but a disaster of a game against the Toronto Raptors last night. Tyler Hero had 33.
Yeah.
That was good. Other than that, not much else was good for the Miami Heat. They got outscored in 3 of the 4 quarters. Fourth quarter, the game was already decided, and the Heat actually won that quarter, 106-92. Now, a half game back of the Brooklyn Nets. See, now, Lubie, if you had said before the season, when the Nets had Durant and they had Harden and they had Kyrie Irving, if you had said before the season, wow, the Heat are going to be in a nip and tuck battle with the Brooklyn Nets in the Eastern Conference, you would have thought, what, first place?
I mean, Harden was on the Sixer, but yeah, Durant.
Yeah, Harden was already gone. You're right.
And Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons. That's what they were supposed to have. They were supposed to.
He's now out for the season and is due $78 million to do nothing for the next 2 years.
He's never played at all. Yes, they would be like, okay, the Heat should be going back and forth with the Nets all year. We didn't think it would be for the 6th seed.
6th seed, and the top 5 seem to be relatively set. I don't know that there's going to be much change of position. The Celtics got hammered last night, but they seem to have a lock on that second spot. Yeah. Milwaukee playing, excuse me, good basketball, and they're in the top spot. You got the Philadelphia 76ers, who I think are going to be a tough out. Who are you going to give the nod to for MVP?
I think Embiid.
If it goes to Jokic again, are you going to be screaming racism? What's your position on that?
That's a weird.
Mr. Barkley, what do you think?
There's been 3 white. That was Perkins who said that. There's been 3 white people to get MVPs in the last 20 years. I mean, that's a weird way to go. I think all 3 of them have earned it: Giannis, Jokic, and Embiid. But both Giannis and Jokic have 2 MVPs each. And it's gotten to that LeBron Jordan thing where this is what we expect of them. Embiid hung with them all year and has never won one. So to me, you give it Embiid, and I don't even think he's been. Yes, Harden has played really well, and Harden statistically is an all-star caliber player. But outside of that, I mean, Maxey's
a real good player. I like Maxey a lot. Yeah.
But he hasn't taken this all-star step he was supposed to take. Like Jokic, people say he's not surrounded by talent, but they're wrong. Like Murray, the only reason wasn't an all-star is because he was coming off an injury where he missed most of a year. So he's an all-star caliber player, and Michael Porter Jr. and Gordon should have been an all-star. Like Denver has plenty of talent, and Giannis has 2 dudes that are legitimate all-stars. Giannis literally misses games, and the Bucks miss him, but they win. Like they don't do what the Heat do without Jimmy Butler. The Sixers without Embiid, outside of playing Miami, are a disaster, and he's never won an MVP.
And he's been spectacular all year long. Every time I've tuned in or followed a Sixers score, it's Embiid. I believe he might be. Is he leading the league in scoring at 30 plus? He might be atop the league in scoring. Joel Embiid, which is pretty remarkable, and he does it in a variety of fashions. And also,
he actually is leading Luka by a half a point.
Yeah,
big man.
And he's a big catalyst also. I mean, he does assist. He does play defense. I'm giving a nod to Embiid this year. I would say that he's a deserving winner of the MVP, but it's kind of like arguing pound for pound in boxing, who's the best pound for pound boxer. Different weight classes get involved. In this case, you're talking about 3 centers, and Antetokounmpo and Jokic
Pretty big, so
and Joel Embiid. So I would give it to Embiid just because he hasn't won one for one, and number two, he's had as spectacular a season as any of the other two guys. So or either of the other two guys. So I would stick with that. Hey, did you know what was happening here in town tomorrow? Did you have any idea? Because we've been caught up in this NCAA Final Four euphoria, which is well deserved that the spotlight is on our college basketball teams. But did you hear about this? Opening day for the Marlins.
I was gonna say, did you have when you turn
Anybody where? Anybody going? What's going on with that?
I thought it was next week.
Their advertising blitz has been sensational. I think there's not a single person in town that isn't aware that. Wow, I mean, how hot or commodity are the tickets for Marlins opening day? What the fuck is going on there? I mean, I've never seen anything like it, right? Every city I've ever lived in. I mean, I've lived to three places essentially. New York, they'd be going crazy. They're batshit crazy for opening day. Los Angeles, I mean, it's like wow. I can't wait to get my Dodger tickets in the mail. And here, you don't even know what's happening, right? Although this is a good thing. They're playing the Mets, and yet with Alcantara on the mound, is there a shot that the Marlins will spend at least one day this year above 500? That's a very negative view before the season. This is supposed to be the time of optimism, Lubie. This is the time where you sit there and you go, wow, you know what? I think we're in there with a chance this year. I mean, maybe a wild card berth, something? Nothing.
No, I have no. I literally, I saw something. Like, oh, I'm going to check out the Marlins in Miami. I'm like, in Miami? Aren't they in Jupiter? I'm like, in Miami. I'm like,
opening day for the baseball season here in town is tomorrow. And,
I'm like, wasn't it like the 4th? I thought it was always the first week of April. I'm like, okay.
We know nothing about it. Absolutely nothing.
No idea.
Except that Alcantara is going to start. Who's going to start the second game? Do we even know who's in the rotation?
The guy Luzardo, I think it's Alcantara, Luzardo, Cabrera, and Rogers.
This is sort of tragic if you think about it. I mean, 1993, first year of the Marlins, so that's 7 plus 23, 30 years.
30 years. This is a 30-year anniversary.
30-year celebration of the Marlins, and we don't even know when opening day is. And it's here in town against the Mets. One of the most talked about teams in the offseason. The team that went out there spent the most money. They had the unfortunate thing of Edwin Diaz going down for the season in the World Baseball Classic. People will debate that forever. Should they play the World Baseball Classic? And while I was originally just indifferent to it completely, I thought, well, who cares if that's going on? At this point, I'm buying into the World Baseball Classic. It ended in dramatic fashion. And unfortunately, it ended in tragic fashion for the New York Mets. But the players seem to love it, and they bought into the concept of playing for their country. So I'm going to accept it and say that probably it's a positive thing, and yet devastating, a crushing blow for the Mets, who had spent all of this money. And the guy they had that was lights out last year, Edwin Diaz, he had a lousy year the year before, and had been dynamite before that. Really had an off season, hurt the Mets, I think, as much as helped them. And then last year, it was just unbelievable. Trumpets blaring, my friends. Trumpets blaring as he came in, and he would strike out 3 guys on 9 pitches, and then the Mets would walk off with another victory. Not enough to get them into the World Series, but enough to get them into the postseason. And the speculation was, with the addition of Verlander, that the Mets would be more than a contender this year, if not the outright winner and possible favorite to win the World Series. They are in town tomorrow, and that should draw a crowd, no?
Yes. It's the opening day does actually decent down here, and the Mets being an opening day is going to be annoying because there's going to be a lot of Met fans.
Well, and they would have a chance to crack 15,000 by the second game of the season.
And the second game usually does, like the first game will do 30-something. Second game usually is in the 20s. And then by game 3, it starts to waver. And we'll see. I mean, if they can build any steam,
it's amazing that the Mets, the Mets will be a draw, but that the Marlins would have empty seats on opening day in a 37,000 seat stadium or 35.
I don't think do you think it'll be sold out? I don't know. It should be sold out, especially with the Mets in town.
Well, with the Mets in town, I believe the stadium will be sold out, and they'll probably get pretty good crowds for the first couple of games. But other than that, I mean, just silence of the lambs, my friend.
I've heard nothing.
Silence of the lambs.
Cerny hasn't even said that. Cerny, in all of his wisdom, hasn't said anything about like, well, are you focusing on opening day? What are you doing, bro? He's still focused on like the NIT part 2.
Well,
Like,
he's focused on Division III women's bocce ball in Italy at this point. Doesn't
so,
really get into a lot of mainstream stuff. Our friend Jim Sardi, that's okay.
I don't know. I don't. It feels weird because we focus on baseball. We like talking baseball. So opening day, we would have done a whole week of like, and I get it. We wouldn't have had the tournament because down here no one
How
cares.
many times have the Marlins called you though to offer up guests so far?
I have talked to our
Oh
friend,
yeah, you talked to a Marlin rep. Nice.
but that was like 2 weeks ago because I want to get the new manager on, and he didn't.
And he's a good spokesman for the team. He's probably their best asset right now in terms of trying to generate publicity. Nothing.
They actually did get back to me and they said we'll work on it. So I'll reach back out. Maybe they'll want some goodwill at the beginning of the year. I'll try and get Craig Mish on, and I'll try and get.
Well, we should be getting something from the team though. I mean, this is a team. As I just said, I mean, nobody even knows this is happening, and this is their level of effort in terms of publicizing the team. We're two guys that actually get into baseball.
Yeah, we care.
We're very very favorable to the Marlins organization. Over the years, we were at the flagship station there, 940. Not because we were being shills. We're just hoping that something good would happen, and that anything would come of this. We got rid of the evil ownership of Laurie and Sampson, and to this point, they've been far more successful than anything that we've seen from Bruce Sherman so far with Jeter and all of the other different things that they've taken on in terms of trying to change the dynamic of the team. Hiring a female general manager got a lot of publicity, but so far squadooch, and there you have it in a nutshell. I mean, if you're going to be indifferent to the media that is willing to help you, then how on earth are you going to turn the crowd, into something that's worthwhile at a Wednesday night game against the Pirates? It's not happening, right? Nobody cares.
No, it's not.
You have to engage people into your story in baseball. It's a soap opera. It's 162 games. There's going to be time, during the course of the season, there'll be times where, it just seems like it's endless and meaningless.
Yep.
So you have to make it meaningful, and you have to be out front. And I'll never forget this, and I've told this story a few times, but I remember talking to Angelo Dundee. It was one of the first times I actually had met him. And it was before I actually moved to Miami, where I got to know him pretty well. And I'm doing some interviews about a fight that was taking place in Las Vegas. I was out covering that. And I'm talking to Dundee. I'm in awe. This is Angelo Dundee, one of my all-time heroes in the sport of boxing. It was with Ali and all of these other great champions that he had. And Sugar Ray Leonard. You're blowing it, kid. You're blowing it. And at the end of the interview, I said, thank you so much, Angelo. It was a pleasure meeting you. And he actually he stopped me. He says, no, thank you. We need guys like you. We need people. We need the press. We need to let people know that we're out here. And if the Marlins even slightly embrace that approach, I don't know how much it would help them, because if you're losing every game, nobody's going to care. But at least they would be in there with a shot. And that's the level of cooperation you get. So let's hope that doesn't blow our chances of actually getting the manager on the show.
You'll be fine.
I hope he comes around. All right, Final Four. Where are we at? Are we convinced yet that both these teams can meet in the final game? FAU and Miami?
I think both have a chance. I mean, you don't have a freaking Kentucky team with Anthony Davis and Michael Gilchrist, and like it's not a freaking loaded squad. UConn's playing really well, but I still can't name anyone on the team. It's not like anyone's scared.
That blowout of Gonzaga was an eye opener, was it not?
The professor explained it to me as a guy who had
what happened.
Gonzaga. Timmy got in foul trouble early. So they kept it close in the first half. Because that's the thing. I don't remember it being a blowout. Like, I didn't realize it got to 30. He said, and the problem was to start the second half, Few was debating, do I take him out? Do I put him in? Do I take him out? Do I put him in? And he ended up getting his third foul. And then, so he had 3 fouls early in the second half. And then he was about to yank him, and he got a stupid-ass fourth foul. And once he got the stupid-ass fourth foul with 17 minutes left in the second half, he's out the rest of the second half. I mean, you can put him back in. So literally in the next 5 minutes, they went from a 6 to 8 point lead to 20. And
they scored 22 points in the second half, Gonzaga, in that ball game. I guess that would be like putting a knitting needle in a balloon, right? I mean, just the air pops out of it
Yep,
once you
that
don't have
was it.
Timmy out there
He
for
said when you didn't have Timmy,
Gonzaga.
Gonzaga just gave up.
Yeah,
Gonzaga just was
they fell apart. All right, so maybe that score was a little misleading. I don't know. I hope so. I love Jim Laranaga's confidence. If you get a chance, plug in South Florida Live, the Defo Show, or just Google the Defo Show.
Its own entity. I put it up by itself. I do that with all of our really interesting conversations. You just go right. If you're finding us, go right to South Florida Live, and you'll see our conversation with Coach.
I thought Jim Larinaga was excellent on the show. Yeah, he's always great, but I mean, I thought he was particularly sharp yesterday.
Yeah.
Not only candid, but one of the things he said that stuck with me was, and this was another Angelo Dundeeism, if you will. It's great that I can envision him saying this to me that there's always somebody out there that can beat you. There's always he said it this way. There's always somebody out there that can lick you. I didn't want to say that anymore because now you get in trouble.
Sexual.
But he said that there's always somebody that can beat you. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
And Larinaga kind of alluded to that. He says, everybody's beatable.
Yes.
No matter who they are. We saw that with Fairleigh Dickinson knocking off Purdue, a number one seed. Everybody is beatable.
Yep.
And he seemed to have that same kind of quiet. It's like a quiet, swaggering confidence that Jim Larinaga has, with the acceptance that, hey, it could happen to me. But we can do this. What was the approach that I think he's taken in this game, and it seems like his team is infused with that kind of confidence that no matter what the circumstances, they're in there with a shot. So 5.5-point underdogs, the Canes, 2-point dogs, the Fighting Owls of FAU are 2-point underdogs in their game against San Diego State, a fine defensive team, but the 3-point shooting of FAU has been spectacular in this tournament so far. So both in there with a shot. Tune in later on, and it's coming up in just a few minutes, actually. We'll have our Defo show on South Florida Live. You get portions of it here on 5 Reasons Sports Network. In addition to this new thing, this Defo on 5. And apologize for the voice. Brian White, the athletic director at FAU, is going to join us in the first hour of the program. Yes. So that should be a lot of fun. Look forward to that. And let's go Marlins, man. We could be above 500 for a day. If we can beat the almighty Mets with Sandy Alcantara on the mound. Do we have a bullpen? Does anybody know? Do we know anybody that's going to be in the field? Can we name a couple of players? Well, Miggy's gone. That hurts me.
I can play Jazz. I can name Jazz Chisholm.
He's in center. Yeah.
In the infield. That's a great. Where does Arouse play?
He's a second baseman.
Okay, there you go. Arrays. Luis Arrays. Arouse. However the fuck you say his name.
There he is. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, right? There he is. It sounds like the name is similar to, wasn't that the name of the woman that, killed her baby and then got off?
No idea. I know we had Jessica Blaylock on, and she pronounced it in a way that sounds like it's the right way, that I had never heard it pronounced that way.
Sounds like something, that you would say if you were at the drive-thru at Trop. What is that?
Pollo Tropical.
Tropical, Pollo Tropical. Yeah.
It's like a Cuban dish.
The arrays and like no, not on the rape, like the arrays. Yeah, with the onions. Hey, the cat can hit. I mean, they're going to try and go small ball here, and with zero power, win in today's Major League Baseball landscape, which is not an easy thing to do. But we're rooting for him, even if we never get a single guest the entire season. Season's 6 months. Come on. Somebody, anybody, a coach.
I love how you're begging.
Please, we were nice to you people. We really were. I mean, maybe overly so, I thought.
You're begging for their behalf. Like, I don't care if we get Marlins.
If we didn't, was it going to hurt, the viewership of the show? I don't think so
at all. I'm trying to help them out. Like, I actually agree with Sarni in some sense where just because people only want to talk Heat doesn't mean we're going to only talk Heat. Like, I like that I'm there again. He wants to go to the depths of sports that I didn't even know existed. I won't go that far, but I like that we talk baseball and hockey and we try to infuse other sports. Yeah. But I don't have to.
No. I mean, talking women's field hockey is not necessarily our game. But I did want to mention, by the way, I mean, the Miami Open is heating up to the point where they're down to like the best of the best players, and tough matchups. To win this title is not going to be easy, even for the great Carlos Alcaraz, man. He's got to mow down a bunch of heavyweights just to get to the title. I guess they're at the quarterfinal stage now.
And I was
And
going to say,
the play has been dynamite. I mean, just absolutely great, sensational on both sides, the women and the men. So check that out. You'll see that on Tennis Channel all day long. The Miami Open has been a spectacular, living up to its billing type of event. Nobody there, though. I
yeah,
think the crowds must be down. That stadium court that they have, literally for a match yesterday that featured two really dynamic players. I believe it was on the women's side, Rabakina, who's been red hot, and she's in there with a real challenge, and that there were like 4 people in the stands.
yeah, my parents.
It looked like what, a second week of a Marlins season.
I was going to say,
It's
like a Marlins.
insane. All right, we got to run. We'll catch you later on Defo, the Defo show. And for Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. And that's today's kind of rough edition of Defo on Fire.